I'm Stephen Foskett, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the changing needs of storage in the mid-market specifically. Now, all of the storage industry is going through a major rethink right now. We have new storage products, we have new needs for storage from server virtualization, from the cloud, from changing applications in business. And it's time for the people who are planning enterprise IT infrastructures and mid-market and even small business, it's time for everybody to start thinking again, why are we doing the things we're doing, and what should we do, and what can we do differently? So let's talk about the mid-market. Traditionally in the mid-market, this is sort of the entry point where my sort of technology, storage arrays, start to appear. Companies will often go out there and they'll buy themselves a RAID array, with half a dozen disks, and put it in the data center and run their applications on it, and that's their thing. We're gonna use this storage array to store our data. Problem is that those basic storage arrays don't have the kind of flexibility and features that mid-market businesses are looking for. They find pretty quickly that they run up against the limits of the array. Maybe it can't scale, maybe it doesn't have snapshots and replication features that they need, maybe it doesn't have the performance that they need. There's a whole bunch of things that cause issues when businesses just go out there and do that standard thing. The same thing happens on the backup side. Most IT admins, they'll approach it very, very simply, and they'll say, well, we need backups. I'm going to go get myself a tape drive, I'm going to back everything up every day, and that's backups. When it comes to DR, well, we need DR. What can I do? I'll ship my tapes off-site. There, DR, done. The problem is that none of this really works, and none of it really makes sense for the type of uses that mid-sized businesses find themselves, looking for. You don't just want backup, you want the ability to recover lost data. You don't just want your data to be off-site, you want the ability to build something up again in the event that your facility is closed for whatever reason. It's time for businesses to rethink storage and to think instead about finding a device that'll give them the features they need, not finding a device and then hoping it has the features that they need. So let's talk a little bit about this. One of the first things that many businesses run up against is just data growth. They'll look at a storage array, they'll get it up and running, and pretty soon it's full. Then what? Well, buy another one? I mean, when does it stop? A lot of folks, whether they're using a SAN array or a NAS or file server, basically it fills up. And then what? You can go to your users and you can say, hey, can you delete some data? You can proactively try to delete data, but that's really a challenge. You can maybe buy some more disk drives or buy bigger disk drives, but that causes an outage. Data growth is a real problem that many mid-sized businesses face. Similarly, there's the whole idea of flexibility. What if your needs change? What if you have a new application that comes in, or suddenly you've been acquired, or you've acquired somebody, or the business grows? How do you adapt what was once maybe a bargain storage environment to the needs of a bigger mid-sized business? Many people are also augmenting the internal storage for applications with an external storage array. And in many cases, especially in the mid-market, they go out and they buy themselves a NAS storage array, basically a special purpose file server. It's a storage array that looks like a file server. So maybe the N drive or the H drive or whatever is on this NAS array instead of on a Windows file server, instead of on a just a general purpose operating system. Why do they do that? Well, they're doing this in many cases for specific features around data protection. They want to be able to snapshot data. They want to be able to replicate data off-site for disaster recovery purposes. And that's good. That's what people should be doing. They should be rethinking what they can do with their storage array. If we rethink the problem, and if we say, well, I need to be able to recover my data throughout the week, maybe a daily backup in the evening is not the best way to accomplish that. Maybe a better way is to use the features of a NAS array to snapshot things, daily, multi times a day, maybe hourly, maybe even continuously. This is a suggestion that a lot of the various NAS vendors have had for customers, and it's been very successful. I can tell you from my own experience, I was a systems administrator at a mid-sized business, and when I introduced a NAS array with snapshots that allowed me to recover data throughout the day, it really, really helped, and my end users just loved it. They loved the idea that they didn't lose the data, the work that they had produced today. If you think about it, the value of data often starts very, very high and declines rapidly. So recovering data that is a few days old is actually, in many cases, less useful than recovering from, oops, I deleted that, or, oh no, I wanted that thing back. So that's one of the real values that people get from moving to a storage array. If we go to an extreme, we get continuous data protection. And the idea there is that we literally keep everything, every change, always. And we can have a dial that we can turn back the clock on a minute by minute basis, and we can go back to any revision of data. That's incredibly powerful. And just think for a minute what you can do with that technology if you're willing to rethink the problem. So let's step back. Let's say, okay, so if we're going to use snapshots and continuous data protection, if we're going to use CDP for day, inter-day recovery and hour-to-hour recovery, maybe we don't need the same kind of backup system that we always had. Maybe we can back that off. We can change that schedule. I'm not saying that you should dump your backups, but maybe you can. Maybe you say, a combination of offsite replication and continual data protection, maybe that's enough for me. Maybe I don't need that tape drive in the backup application. In summary, it's time for mid-market businesses to rethink the storage question. It's time to say, what are we doing because this is how we've always done it, versus what should we be doing because we need to do things. Think about backup, think about disaster recovery, think about tape versus disk. Maybe you can get rid of the tape drive and just back up to disk. Maybe you can get rid of the backup application and use continuous data protection. Maybe you can get rid of tape shipping and use replication. There are a lot of new solutions out there that can give you a better match for your needs if only you're willing to step outside the box a little bit and do things that are a little bit unconventional. And that's actually a good idea because the devices that we have today are much more powerful and feature-filled than the devices we had even just a few years ago. I'm Stephen Foskett. If you're interested in what I have to say here, you can find me at blog.fosketts.net, on Twitter at @sfoskett, and I run the Tech Field Day events, which you can find at techfieldday.com.